The Galactic Strategic Academy had stood for 3,000 cycles, its crystalline spires reaching toward the stars like fingers of enlightenment. Within its halls, the greatest military minds from 47 species studied the art of warfare, diplomacy, and survival. And within those same halls, Marcus Chen was failing spectacularly. Primitive thinking. Professor Velthar had announced during the morning tactical simulation, his 6 eyes blinking in what Marcus had learned was the Velkari equivalent of disgust. The human relies on instinct. The word dripped with disdain, drawing chittering laughter from his classmates. Marcus said nothing. He had learned over his 6 months at the academy that defending himself only made things worse. The other cadets, reptilian saurians with their 300-year lifespans, crystalline lumens who processed information at quantum speeds, even the methodical hive minds who could coordinate thousands of thoughts simultaneously, they all looked at humanity the same way. A species that had barely achieved faster-than-light travel, whose individuals lived mere decades, who made decisions based on emotion and gut feelings. Primitives. The simulation had been straightforward enough. Defend a colony from a siege by calculating optimal resource distribution across 14 defensive platforms. Marcus had glanced at the numbers, felt something click in his mind, and input his solution in 40 seconds. The simulation rejected it. Calculation error, it had proclaimed. When Velthar reviewed Marcus's work, he had simply shaken his head and moved on. The crystalline cadet Brightness of Dawn completed the same simulation in 4 hours. Her solution was celebrated as exemplary. Now, as Marcus sat in the Academy's observation deck watching ships drift past the station, he wondered if the board had made a mistake accepting Earth's application for membership. Maybe humanity wasn't ready. Maybe they really were too primitive. Emergency assembly. All senior cadets to Strategic Command. This is not a drill. The announcement shattered his thoughts. Marcus joined the stream of cadets flowing toward the command center, a massive amphitheater where holographic displays showed real-time data from across the galaxy. Grand Admiral Thexnor stood at the center, his massive Titans-class frame radiating urgency. Behind him, a tactical display showed a sector of space Marcus didn't recognize, until he saw the label. The neutral zone, the buffer between the Galactic Union and the Kraith Dominion. 16 hours ago, Kraith forces launched a surprise assault on the neutral zone, Thexnor's voice boomed. They've deployed a new weapon, a quantum disruptor that destabilizes our shield harmonics. 3 colonies have already fallen. Our tactical AIs estimate we have 72 hours before they break through to Union space. The display shifted, showing fleet positions, projected attack vectors, resource allocations. Marcus felt that familiar click in his mind, pattern recognition firing in ways he couldn't quite explain. We have assembled this galaxy's finest military minds, Thexnor continued. The Strategic Defense Committee has been working for 14 hours without solution. We're opening this to the Academy. Any cadet who can provide viable tactical insight will be heard. For 6 hours, Marcus watched as his classmates approached the problem. Brightness of Dawn spent 90 minutes running probability matrices. A Saurian tactical genius named Sesthak proposed a complex flanking maneuver that would take weeks to coordinate. The Hive Mind Collective suggested redistributing the entire 7th Fleet, a logistical nightmare requiring months of planning. Each proposal was met with the same response. Insufficient. The timeline is too compressed. Next. Marcus stared at the display. The Kraith forces, the Union positions, the quantum disruptors' range and recharge time, the FTL jump distances, the supply lines. He saw it not in numbers or calculations but in patterns, in the negative space between enemy movements, in the rhythm of their attacks. His hand rose before he could stop it. The human wishes to speak? Velthar's tone carried obvious skepticism. Marcus stood, throat dry. Yes, Professor. Approach. The walk to the center felt like kilometers. Marcus could feel every eye on him, his classmates, the professors, the Grand Admiral himself. Show us your solution, Cadet Chen. Marcus's fingers moved across the holographic interface. The Kraith are using a 3-wave assault pattern. They're predictable. They hit retreat, let the disruptor recharge, then hit again in the same sequence. He pulled up enemy movement logs. Every attack has been exactly 7 hours apart, targeting infrastructure in alphabetical order by system designation. Fascinating observation, Thexnor said, but it doesn't solve our defensive problem. We don't defend, Marcus said. We don't need to. Look, when they retreat, they fall back to these coordinates. He marked 3 positions. They're refueling at hidden supply depots. They have to. The disruptor drains too much power for sustained campaigns. He zoomed in on the enemy formation. They're not warriors. They're following a script, probably written by their central command. But scripts don't adapt. If we hit their supply depots during their recharge window, here, and here, with fast strike cruisers, they'll be stranded. No fuel, no retreat, and their fleet will collapse in... He glanced at the numbers. 43 minutes. The room fell silent. Impossible, Velthar said. Such a strategy requires... It requires intuition, Brightness of Dawn whispered. Pattern recognition without calculation, seeing what the data doesn't show. Grand Admiral Thexnor stared at the display. His claws moved, running Marcus's scenario through the tactical computer. The projection ran. Kraith forces isolated and stranded surrendering within an hour. Probability of success 94.7%, the computer announced. Thexnor turned to Marcus, his expression unreadable. This is why humans are dangerous, he said slowly. Then to Marcus's shock he bowed, a gesture of profound respect among the Titans. And why the galaxy needed you. Orders flew. Strike teams launched. Marcus stood at the center of the command deck, watching his strategy unfold in real time. 41 minutes later, the Kraith forces surrendered. Professor Velthar approached, all 6 eyes focused on Marcus. I called you primitive, he said quietly. I was wrong. We calculate. We process. We analyze. But you see, perhaps that is not primitive at all. Perhaps that is what 3 billion years of evolution fighting for survival on a death world creates. Not primitives, he paused. Survivors, Marcus smiled. We prefer the term human, Professor. From that day forward, the Academy added a new course to its curriculum, Adaptive Tactical Theory. The instructor? A primitive from Earth who had reminded the galaxy that sometimes the most advanced solution is knowing when to trust your instincts.